Hello everybody, it's Michael Lanigan here in Indonesia once again. It is Thursday the 27th of November 2025. The Herigal effect. What is the Herigal effect? The Herigal effect is a name given to a very ordinary everyday process through which everybody, every human being can reach, well, enlightenment, for want of a better word. Happiness, joy, fulfillment. The real deal. That's it. So, Herigal was a German gentleman who attended the ashram of Rajneesh Osho Bhagwan, that nice gentleman, in India, way back in the day. So Mr. Herigal went to the ashram, of course. He was eager, to get the enlightenment. So he went to the ashram. He was there for many months. He was trying very hard, meditating, very, very hard, praying, meditating. And eventually he just gave up. I can't do it anymore. I'm not getting anywhere. Tomorrow I'm going home. So he woke up the next morning and he was going over to catch the bus into the city to go home to Germany. And he thought, before I go, I'll go over to the compound of Mr. Rajneesh and I'll say goodbye. I'll explain to him why I'm leaving, I'll say goodbye. And as he was walking across the compound to the dwelling of Mr. Rajneesh, the guru, Herr Herigal was enlightened. I'll give you another example of the Herigal effect. The famous Russian scientist Mendeleev. For many months, he was desperately trying to configure his periodic table of the elements. Every school child knows what this is. It is a kind of a grid of columns and rows, specially formulated so you can get lots of information from the arrangement of the elements, the natural elements, like minerals, like metals, salts, that sort of thing. So like sodium, uranium, iron, you know what I'm talking about. It's called the periodic table of the elements. Now, Mr. Mendeleev was trying for many months to get it in order. And one day, he gave up in despair. I can't do it. I quit. He went to sleep, and in his sleep, he had a dream. In the dream, the complete periodic table of the elements appeared to him in the dream. He woke up and he jotted it down, and that's the story of how Mr. Mendeleev, the famous Russian scientist, finally solved the problem of the periodic table of the elements. The third example of the Herigal effect, which I would like to tell you about, is a story told by Mr. Sadhguru, that very nice gentleman over there in India. He told this story. I saw this story. He was telling this story on the internet. So this is a story about the Buddha. This is Gautama Buddha. This is the real deal. This is the Buddha, the founder of the world religion. Not any other Buddha. It is the real Buddha. Now, the real Buddha, I can't really remember the details of the story, but as far as I can remember, we all know that the Buddha was doing all sorts of spiritual disciplines for many years. He was dead set on becoming enlightened and escaping from, well, for want of a better word, the Matrix. Or as the religious scholars will call it, Maya. So the world of illusory reality, the Matrix. So the Buddha was trying for many years, fasting, praying, all sorts of austerities, maybe self-flagellation, I don't know what he was doing, but he was really working hard. And he did this for many, many years. And he was walking across the countryside and he had to cross a river. I hope I'm getting this right. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I remember. So he was wading across the river, and there was a strong current. There was a strong current. Now the Buddha was very weak from all these years of austerities, fasting, praying, all sorts of things, meditation. He was going across the river, and the current swept him away. He reached out and he grasped a branch, and that branch saved his life. And at that moment, grasping that branch in that raging river, the Buddha, he said, "No, this is too much. I almost lost my life due to this fasting, these austerities. This is nonsense. I've spent years on this. I quit. I'm lucky to be alive." He crawled out of the river and he sat under a tree to rest because he'd almost died. He wanted to recuperate. And under that tree, he was granted enlightenment. That is how, according to Mr. Sadhguru, the Buddha actually received enlightenment. It was the Hegel effect. And the last example of the Hegel effect I'd like to provide is from a work of fiction by Mr. Hermann Hesse, a German writer of the 20th century who won the Nobel Prize. He was a spiritual writer, and this example is from his novel. It's a very short novel. It's a novella called Siddhartha. Now, Siddhartha was a fictional character who lived, he was a contemporary of the Gautama Buddhas. And so Siddhartha, so it's the story of Siddhartha. He has a similar name to Gautama Buddha, but it's not the same person. So Siddhartha, he was doing like the Buddha, all the austerities, the praying, the fasting, and he gave up. He wasn't getting anywhere. He didn't get any enlightenment. So he happened to accidentally produce some offspring. And he didn't know this. He left the lady, but many years later, he met his son. So Siddhartha met his son. He found out that this boy, who was 6 or 7 years of age, was actually his son. And Siddhartha, well, it's a father. He was in love. He was madly in love with his son. But the son ran away. And Siddhartha's heart was broken. His heart was broken. His son ran away. And that same day, Siddhartha received enlightenment. So those are 4 stories illustrating the Hegel effect. Now, I will explain the process of the Hegel effect. So you're pushing, and then you give up in despair. You give up, you let go, you let go, you let it go. And then it happens. The thing you wanted comes. When you finally let go, when you stop the striving, you let go. Despair. Now, you know as well as I do that despair, heartbreak, and defeat are all freely available to every human being on the face of this beautiful planet, right? And I'm just giving you 4 examples of how this Hegel effect, utilizing despair, heartbreak, defeat, lead to enlightenment, right? Now you can see as well as I can that you don't need to change your name. You don't need to wear silly clothes. You don't need to grovel on the ground in the ashram. You don't need to spend all your money to pay a guru in order to receive heartbreak. It's freely available. Heartbreak, despair, disappointment, defeat, it's all freely available to every human being. All you have to do in life is say your prayers with sincerity and don't break the law. And I'll leave you to it.